Wisconsin Housing Alliance. And with us today doing the webinar is Kyle Laspa. He's with Bluffside Marketing. Some of you who attended our annual conference in November may remember him. He did a very good presentation where we actually had people in the hot seat giving up their websites so that we could take a look at them and learn from the good and the bad of what was out there. And he is going to talk about 5 online marketing trends for 2014. And as we all know, if we are not marketing, we're probably not selling as much. So hopefully we can learn a lot from Kyle, and we'd like to thank him for being a member of our association and for providing this data for us. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kyle, and hopefully we'll all learn a lot.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and welcome everybody to this webinar. Again, we'll be talking about the 5 online marketing trends of 2014. And I'm very excited to be presenting here today, and I hope you learn a lot from this presentation. So the next 60 minutes, I'm going to teach you just a little bit about myself. Many of you are probably familiar with me from the presentation I did at the annual conference. We're going to also talk about the 5 biggest marketing trends of 2014 and how you can leverage these in your business. So 2 quick caveats as we get started here. This is not an exhaustive list or a be-all, end-all guide. Marketing, especially nowadays, is such a moving target, and it can be a very complex thing. But what I tried to do is I tried to kind of distill things down to a sense of something that you can relate to, that you could use in your business, that'll be understandable, as I don't want to overwhelm you or have this kind of go over your head. And secondly, the things we talk about today, it doesn't mean you need to rush out and you've got to all of a sudden do all this new marketing for 2014 or you're doomed and you'll be behind. That's not the case at all. The idea here is to educate you about what's ahead, what's coming up in marketing. And once you have the fundamentals down, like we talked about, the 4 R's, having a good reputation, reaching prospects, being able to resell to them, and also having a good referral system, then you want to turn your eyes to more of these things, more of these trends. So those are kind of 2 caveats to this. And again, if you have questions at any time, please enter them in the question box on the GoToWebinar panel, and I'll try and answer them throughout the presentation, but also definitely I'll try and get to them at the end. So real quickly about myself, I'm a Wisconsin native. I grew up in Wisconsin Rapids. I went to UW-Madison, graduated with a degree in film, went out to Los Angeles and worked for NBC Sports on the Beijing and Vancouver Olympics. I managed their YouTube channel. I was an office manager. And so I really kind of got started in social media marketing working for them. While I was out there, I also started doing advertising and blogging and different things online, and eventually moved back here to Madison to take the business full time. So I've been doing this for about 5 years. And what we do as a company is we help business owners in the home improvement and building space who are too busy running their business to market it, and build proven marketing systems to reach growth potential and dominate their markets. So with that said, the top marketing trends for 2014. Again, this is not an extensive list, but I think these are 5 things that all of you can really relate to, and I think you'll get value from. So number 1, I think the biggest thing for 2014 is going to be mobile, and you're going to hear about it over and over again. It's just absolutely exploding with growth, and it seems like everybody is doing everything from their phone, and we're going to go into quite a bit of detail about this. So that would, to me, be the biggest thing for 2014 is mobile. Another one is an increased relevance and customization of marketing. So the days of just blasting out radio and TV and billboards and just hoping something sticks are starting to erode, and marketing is getting to a point where you need to be more relevant and more customized to the actual people you're targeting. And we'll show you how you can do that. It's some really interesting stuff. Number 3, I think marketing mediums are becoming more and more integrated. So your offline and your online marketing are not mutually exclusive. And even within both of those, they're becoming much more integrated. Everything affects everything because people consume media in many, many different ways. It's very, very fractured. So you've got to have a very cohesive marketing and branding plan across everything that you do. Number four, quality content and relevance will be king. This is getting more and more important. Is educating your prospects as well as creating a very resource heavy website, because not only does Google want to see that, but again, your prospects want to see that. And finally, social media is really turning more video and photo centric, and it's just absolutely exploding in growth when it comes to video and photos. And we'll talk about how you can take advantage of that and what that looks like for your business. So the whole premise of this is the marketing philosophy that I always like to follow. And this is a quote by Wayne Gretzky. He says, "I don't care where the puck is. I just care where it's going to be." And I talked about this a little bit at the conference in the Dells, in that, I always like to look at, where is marketing going to be? Where is business going to be? And taking that information and trying to get out ahead a little bit of your competition rather than trying to do what's already here. They say if they tell you to invest in gold, it's already too late. And that's kind of the way I look at this. Is the idea here is to how can we get you, a half or a step or even two steps ahead of your competition, ahead of the market, so you can really take advantage of the trends that are coming up. So number one, mobile marketing. 61% of US adults own a smartphone. This was in June of 2013. What's really interesting to me is 42% of adults over the age of 55 own a smartphone. I saw a number in a couple of years, they think that'll be all the way up into the 80 percentile. So basically, in a handful of years, um, almost all of the US adults are going to have a smartphone. Okay, that's huge. That's really, really big. And it's not going to be limited to age. Everyone's going to have a smartphone, young, middle, old, everybody. So really realize that probably the biggest thing coming up is mobile. Okay, you've got to know how to take advantage of that. And why is this important? Well, a third of mobile searches are local. Okay, it's not people on Wikipedia and ESPN, things like that. It's people looking for local businesses. And again, where is that puck going to be when we look at desktop versus mobile searches in the local space? You can see that local searches on phones is absolutely taking off, whereas desktop searches is kind of flatlined and matured as a market. So you've really got to um, you've really got to uh, know that mobile is growing very rapidly. Desktop searches are kind of flatlining, and really take advantage of that in your business. So when people look up a business via mobile, okay, 61% result in a phone call, 59% in a visit. Essentially, when people are on their phone, they mean business, okay? They want that instant gratification more often than not. So, um, the reason that is important is because if you invest in mobile, you're investing in people that want to do business with you, that are qualified, that want to take action, they want to call you, they want to come in and look at your products. And what's really interesting is that 6 in 10 prospects will leave your site if it's not mobile friendly. So if you have a bad customer experience, right, if they can't find what they're looking for, they're going to leave and you're going to lose that potential prospect. So you really have to have a good experience for them. And again, all over half say a bad experience will make them less likely to engage. So essentially you look at it as, if this is how their mobile experience is, how is the experience shopping with them, right? And it's a reflection on your business and how you run your business. So you want to create the best possible experience when someone is on their phone interacting with your business and your brand. So your goal, you got to make it easy as possible for prospects to consume information on their phones or any device, okay, whether it's iPads, iPad minis, whatever it might be. So you want to avoid that really cramped, kind of small text look that you get on websites. And so you can kind of see the difference here: a standard site on a phone, and then a mobile version on a phone. Um, and the clarity you get, the ease of navigation that you see. Now, I think a lot of you probably understand that. You understand the concept of having a mobile enabled website, but I want to take this one step further, and we're going to go to where the puck is going to be. And so this is kind of the next thing, and it's not even really the next thing. I call it the new mobile website. It's called responsive web design. Okay. And it refers to a website design that adjusts the layout or size of the website according to the screen or window size of whatever device or web browser is being used to view it. So it eliminates a second URL, a separate site to update, and essentially the main site is the mobile site. Okay, so if you're scratching your head wondering what the heck is he talking about, let's take a look right here. So this is Salesforce's website, and you can see the 320 is how wide, it's a number of pixels, how wide the screen is. But you can see for every different width, the website automatically changes how it looks and changes its size according to what device you're on. Because moving forward, you've got hundreds of devices with hundreds of different size screens. So how do you create an optimal experience for all those different devices? And it's having a responsive web design, not just a mobile enabled website. So, why responsive web design? And I'll give you some examples of this and how you can test your website, and it might make a little more sense. But the biggest thing is that no matter the device, the user goes to an optimized page. So whether I've got a little phone, a big phone, an iPad mini, an iPad, a huge desktop, the website is going to give the person the best experience possible. And you only have one URL for everything. So with a mobile site, you might have m dot and then your domain, or you might have your domain /m or mobile dot your domain. And Google looks at that as you having two different websites. So now you have to do SEO for both that mobile site and that regular site. And on top of that, you also have to make updates to both the mobile and the desktop version. So it's a lot of extra work, it's a lot of extra hassle. And with the responsive web design, you only have to make updates to that one website. So the bottom line, it's simple, effective, and it's the future. You're going to be seeing a lot more people moving towards this and putting their websites towards responsive web design. So how do you know if your website is mobile, if it's responsive, or if it's neither? And there's a couple things you can do. You can do it right now. So you can go to your website on a smartphone, all right? And if it looks really crunched and the text is tiny, it's hard to read, you know it's probably not mobile enabled or mobile friendly or responsive design. Another thing you can do is you can use what they call a mobile emulator. So this is essentially a website that will take your website and look at it as though your browser is a smartphone. And that'll let you know, you can go to either of these URLs, and that'll let you know what your site, if you don't have a smartphone, looks like on a phone. And the third one is to open your browser or open your website in a browser and resize your browser. And I'm going to show you what this looks like right now. So this is salesforce.com. Okay. And watch what happens as I shrink my browser. Okay. You're going to see the browser change. You see how that's automatically adjusting itself to the size? And you can imagine this is a smartphone. Imagine this might be an iPad. This might be, a really small computer screen. And then if I go all the way over here, this is a larger screen. That's responsive web design. And that's absolutely key, I think, going into this year and years to come. You're going to see every site moving towards that. So to get a responsive website in this next year will really set you up for years to come with your website. And you don't need a new website to do it. You can convert your existing site rather easily. But just the fact that you know this, that you know that websites are going towards this responsive design puts you so far ahead of so many people because they're still kind of stuck in having neither or maybe just going with a mobile site. So feel free to put your site in there, drag it over, see what it looks like. and and that'll let you know if your site is responsive or not. And again, if you've got questions, put them in the question box, and and I'll let you know. I'll give you some answers throughout this presentation or at the end. So, what do you do next? So, what do you do with this information? I think that if you've got a regular site, I would get it converted into a responsive website. It's a simple process, it's easy, and you'll be set up for years, both with the code, with updates, with SEO, things like that. And it's just a simple process. If you have a mobile version already, I would consider converting it to a responsive website sometime this year. This isn't something you got to rush out next week, but if you're looking at, what should I do? What's the biggest investment or bang for my buck? I would say this would be the first thing I would do as a business for 2014 is make sure your website is responsive. So that's number one. And number two, increased relevance and customization of marketing messages. And this is really cool stuff. This is, um, again, I think kind of number two in all of these trends. And so, what does this mean? Well, it's ads with context that's relevant to the target audience you're outperforming. Let me try that again. Ads with context relevant to the targeted audience are outperforming generic advertising. So basically, the big, blast out a big broadcast and hope something sticks is not as effective anymore as more context relevant. And so, what does this mean? There are three things. So, this is kind of the advertising of the future. You've got geolocation advertising, you've got retargeting, and then social media advertising. And I'll go through all three of these. I think you'll find them really interesting. So, what is geolocation advertising? So, it's a method of determining the geolocation of a prospect and then delivering different content to that prospect based on his or her location. And so, essentially, what it means is that if someone's on their phone, right, you know where they are located because the phone has a GPS signal, and you can also tell through their wireless as well. So, what companies have done is this example right here is if you're driving along in your car and you come within a certain radius of a Quiznos, they'll pop up an ad for free chips, and a drink, and you can redeem that coupon when you go to Quiznos. And same with Ford Roximity. If you come within a certain uh, GPS coordinates of a location, it's going to pop up ads for that business, and that's really a huge trend coming up in marketing. And so, what does this kind of look like from more of a visual standpoint? So let's say you've got, like in this instance, three different pizza places. So you can set up what they call a geo fence. So if anybody comes within these, blue circles here, it's going to pop up a coupon, right? And you're going to see this happening more and more. So let's say you're a community manager or owner, you could set up advertising so that if somebody drives into your community, it's going to show ads on their phone, on the apps on their phone for your community, right? And you could set it up for competing communities. So if you've got a competitor, um, you could set it up so if people drive into their community, there's ads for your community. Okay, so you can set this up anywhere you want, and you can set up the ads that they'll see when their phone gets within that, what they call that kind of geofence or that radius. So you can see how targeted and powerful that is, where the ads will only show up if there are people coming within that certain radius. So the second one, and this one I think is probably the most relevant to you guys, and one of the biggest ones again for this year is retargeting. And this is serving ads to people more frequently after they've left your website. And I spoke a little about this at the conference. And let's say you've got a prospect, Mr. Web Server. He goes to your website, spends a minute or two, looks around, then he leaves. And then let's say he goes to the weatherchannel.com. Well, when he gets to weather.com, he sees an ad right here for your website. Okay. And then let's say he goes to ESPN.com. And what does he do? He sees an ad for your website and he clicks on that ad and he's brought back to your website. So you're essentially showing ads to people who have already shown interest. They've already raised their hand and said, yeah, I'm interested in what you're selling, what you're providing. And you're able to target them again and again. So you're targeting very, very qualified prospects. And talking to people in this industry, this is one of the advertising channels that's really shown to be effective. Um, and so, how does this look? From I guess a more practical standpoint. So, here's me, and two things that we use in our business is Ring Central, which is a phone service provider, and Bluehost, which is a website provider. So we go to those sites quite often, or I go to those sites quite often, and those websites put cookies in my browser. Cookies are just little pieces of data that say, when I visited the site and that I'd visited there. And I also use the website MyFitnessPal, which is kind of like a fitness website. And so what happens is when I go to MyFitnessPal now, you can see up here we've got a Ring Central ad. And along the side, we have a Bluehost ad. So what's happening is MyFitnessPal is reading the cookies on my browser and saying, okay, Kyle's been to Ring Central, he's been to Bluehost, so let's show these ads because they're related to what he's looking for. Now, obviously, they don't know that I'm already a customer, but still, you can see how relevant these ads are as compared to if, say, there is an ad for women's shoes or rock climbing, which I don't do, which are just kind of a throw it out there and hope something sticks. So if someone goes to your site, say they're searching for manufactured homes, they go to your site and they leave, you can serve up ads for your website or for the different models you carry, whatever it might be, and they're going to see those over and over. And the really powerful thing is that you can track how many times these ads show up, on what sites they show up, how many times someone sees these ads before they click, and then what they do when they get to your website. So you can see the power in that is you know exactly how much you're spending and how effective it is. And again, we're these ads are just so relevant to your prospects and to people that have already been to your site. And the third one is social media advertising. And this has been around for quite a while, but what makes this really powerful again is being able to be relevant and contextual in your ads. And so this is an example. Let's say you I want to target special offers to college students in the city of Birmingham, and I'm a pizza place, right? So if you go on Facebook, and all the social media sites have some form of advertising, or they're starting to, you can pick the gender, you can pick the age, the exact location, their interests, right? And their education. You can go beyond that. You can do who they work for, you can do the music they like, the videos they like, whatever it might be, places they travel to. And you can imagine how specific and targeted and relevant you can get. And here's an example of bad targeting down here where you're targeting a really broad age range, the wrong location, people who just like food, they don't necessarily like the food you're serving. And so if you know the demographic of your potential customer. Let's say you have a good idea of their age. You want to target maybe just northern Wisconsin. You want to target a specific city. You want to target a county, whatever it might be, right? You can do that. And then if, let's say that most of your customers share similar interests, you can put that in there as well. And so you can imagine how targeted this can get if you want to target just, northern Wisconsin in this age range, this gender, and they have, interests in this and this and this, you'll be able to serve up ads just for people who are relevant and who are in your target market. And again, it's very, very powerful and effective, and you can track all of this information. So those are kind of three major contextual kind of types of advertising that are really going to take hold this next year. So number three, integrative marketing. And I know this is a lot of text, but stick with me on this one. So integrated marketing. So the development of marketing strategies and creative campaigns that weave together multiple marketing disciplines. So paid advertising, PR, promotions, owned assets, social media that are selected and executed to suit particular goals of the brand. So in other words, your marketing is not mutually exclusive from each other anymore. Okay? So your radio ads are not exclusive from your social media, which is not exclusive from, say, retargeting ads. They're all interrelated, they all affect each other. And one of the big things that you're going to see this year and that you've got to think about in your business is having your marketing and branding activities aligned and knowing that they all affect each other because the market is so fractured and people consume information about your business in so many different ways. So you need to avoid a scattershot approach, and you've got to not think about it in terms of I'll just do radio, I'll just do social media, but how can I combine these two or three things to really create a synergy and play on the strengths? And I'll give you an example. I guess a bad example is a roofing company I know. They have a poor, what I would call kind of a poorly constructed website. They have no social media, no educational marketing, no videos, really just a website. And they spent about $30,000 or $40,000 on a big radio campaign, and it didn't do very well. And their assumption was that someone will hear the ad and just call right away and want to spend $5,000 on a roof. And it doesn't work that way anymore. Okay. People are going to hear that ad and they're going to look them up on Facebook. They're going to look up reviews. They're going to see pictures. They're going to be on their phone. They might be on their iPad. And you can see how all of this stuff is interrelated. So if they would have, had reviews and had a good call to action for people to visit them online or to, get an offer online, something like that, where there's that synergy, it would have been a lot more effective. So you can see these are kind of just a whole host of different types of marketing, and you can see how they all relate to each other. They're all interrelated. So one thing you want to have is you want to have your logo and your branding colors consistent across everything. You want to have your value proposition. So what makes you unique? Why should people buy from you? You want that to be the same in your social media, your website, your advertisements, your radio, your TV, wherever it is, direct mail. You want to keep everything aligned and very similar and know that people are going to be looking at more than one thing. And so here's an example of how this might look. So let's say I hear an ad on the radio for your business saying, check us out on Facebook. A lot of companies will add that at the end. And so I hear the ad on the radio, think, okay, whatever. So about a week goes by, then I receive a direct mail piece, and on that direct mail piece from that company, they have their social media icons. And I'm sitting on the couch going through my mail, and so I thought, oh, well, I'll look them up on my phone through Facebook. And when I go on there and I look them up, I also receive an ad based on my demographic from that company on Facebook. So I click on that ad, and it's a sign up page to get their free white paper. So I think, oh, that's cool. I'll sign up and get some education. So I sign up for it, and then the next day I receive a phone call and an email follow up, and eventually I do business with them. So you can see how all of these things are so interrelated, right? You've got radio saying check us out on Facebook. You've got a direct mail piece with social media stuff. I use my phone. I receive, ads based on my demographic. I get a piece of educational um, material. I get a phone call. So we're using all sorts of different marketing and mediums, and they're all interconnected. So you can see how this is, really important to be consistent across all of these different areas. So I got a question here. Does the Go Mobile trend mean that businesses must revisit their logo design to de-emphasize words? Example, icons seem to be replacing logos. Twitter's identified by the bird, not Twitter plus a bird. Um, I think that's definitely valid to a point. I think people are very visual, and because we process the visual so much faster, and everyone wants now, now, now. It's much quicker for our brain to see the icon for Twitter and to say that's Twitter than it is to read Twitter. So I don't know that you necessarily need to de emphasize words in your logo per se, but I think that you definitely do need to have strong brand colors and strong brand icon so that it's synonymous. So yeah, that's definitely important, especially in mobile and going forward. And we'll talk about photo-centric social media in a little bit and kind of play into that. But I don't know that you have to redo your entire logo unless you haven't done it in quite a few years, and it's if you've got a black and red logo and your website or your direct mail pieces are green and white, then you've got an issue there. Or if you don't have a good strong iconic image, right, where people can just see that image and know that that's your business. So that's a great question. And we'll get a little bit more into photo centric and the visual in just a little bit here. So number four, this is one that is one of my uh, favorite here, and it's quality content is king. And Google and your prospects will be looking for high quality, relevant content that helps educate them and solves their problems. Google has said this over and over and over again. We want really good quality resources on your website, or we're not going to reward you in the search engines. And people are really starting to take notice of this. And I think prospects want the same. There's a lot of risk when people purchase, make a large purchase. And the more you can educate and create quality content, the more you reduce that perceived risk. So, another question here. So, it says Northwest Pride is a consortium of three state MH associations. 80% of leads are not being followed up. So that's a really important part of the sales process, is not following up. It's interesting. Um, there's a study, and I should send this to you guys. There's a study by a sales company that found that the optimal number of follow-ups is 6. That's where they did 0 to 12 follow-ups with prospects, and they took like 100,000 prospects. They found that once you get to 6 follow-up phone calls and emails, you've about maxed out the benefit. And if you follow up within 24 hours of getting that lead, you have a 500% chance of closing that. 500% chance, better chance of closing that lead than if you wait a few days or longer or don't follow up with them at all. And it's amazing is, again, you've got to follow up not once, not twice, not 3 times, but all the way to 6. Okay, because people are so busy and the pace of life is so frenetic. So that's a really great point, in that you can do a lot of this stuff we're talking about, but if it brings you in leads that you're not following up with, you're not going to be nearly as effective. And you've got to do more than just one phone call. When I talk to business owners, they tell me how hard it is to get prospects set up on meetings and to get them on the phone. And I have that same struggle in my business, and you've just got to keep calling, and you've got to have a good system where you track the people that you're calling and how you're following up. And oftentimes you've got to use different um, ways of following up. So you don't want to do just 6 phone calls or 6 emails, right? You want to do a phone call or two, do another email, maybe send out a direct mail piece, then do another phone call or two, right? Because different people are going to respond differently to the ways that you follow up. So absolutely make sure that you follow up with people. That's probably one of the biggest reasons that people don't get to the growth that they want, is despite getting the leads and doing great marketing, you've absolutely got to follow up and follow up very consistently. So another question from Kathy: where do I get a responsive web design? Um, this is interesting because the industry right now, not all web designers know how to do it, or know how to do it very well. I would say Kathy, that at the end of this webinar, there'll be my email and phone. Give me a call, send me an email, and I can talk to you more about that. It's kind of in flux right now, right? The responsive web design is really kind of cutting edge. So um, I would say, I don't have a good answer for that except for just contact me. I can talk to you more about it, and and I can get you some resources and some help. We do responsive web designs. We've done a number of them, so we can certainly handle that for you. But reach out to me with an email or phone call, because not every web designer that you come across is going to be able to do it or do it properly. And um, you also ask, can I get a copy of the info on the paper to review all info you've given? Yes, I will send out the slides of this. I will send out that follow up that I was talking about. Maybe if you can just type in, maybe give me a little more specific as to what paper you're talking about, um, and I can certainly send that out. So okay, so let's get back. So number 4, quality content. Why do you want quality content? Um, Number one, it shows you're an educator first, and I think this is a buzzword you're going to be hearing a lot: educational marketing. Okay, and basically it's being an educator first and a salesperson second. I think that's so important because it builds so much trust. People's radar is so in tune. They're so in tune with smelling out a salesperson and smelling out a catch, that you've got to show value and educate first. And the plumber example, we have a client who's a plumber, and they have a showroom. People come into the showroom, he'll help them out, help them pick out what they need, answer their questions. And um, and what's funny is there's an app for Amazon where you can scan the barcode and it'll automatically show you the price. And people will find that some of the products are 20% cheaper on Amazon, but they still end up buying from him because he educated them. He showed value, and that goes right into number 2. We're giving value to your prospects right away, right? They'll feel that sense of reciprocity. And I think a lot of people are afraid of, well, I'm going to give away all my information. I'm going to give away all my secrets, and they're not going to want to buy from me, or, they'll just go to the competitors and that sort of thing. That might be a risk you run, but I've never worried about that in my business. And I know that if you give value first and you educate, that it's definitely going to come back to you. And number 3, it positions you as an expert and a leader. Okay. So if you can show people what you know and what you provide, they're going to see you as that leader and expert in your market, and they're going to be much more apt to purchase from you. And number 4 is, it moves the prospects down the sales funnel much more quickly. So the sales funnel being know, like, trust, try, buy. Okay. And for instance, this webinar, right? Some of you might not have even known who I was before you got on here. And in 1 hour, you know who I am. Hopefully you like me. Hopefully you trust me by, virtue of it, being through the Wisconsin Housing Alliance. And by seeing, the content that I'm talking about in the examples, you're already kind of trying as well. So in 1 hour, you've gone all the way to step 4 or 5 in a sales cycle. And that's really powerful, because having a long sales cycle is a huge cost in your business. So providing this educational content, this quality content, moves people down that sales funnel very quickly, and they can try you out. You can build that trust. And finally, it's what Google and social media want. It's really what all of these sites are looking for in the future in terms of rankings and what gets shared and things like that. So, yes, Kathy, I will be sending out all the slides, so you'll get that for sure. Let's see here. We got a few more questions. So from a customer standpoint, during a follow-up contact, they may or may not remember your last contact, but they expect you to remember. So are you accurately tracking what you discussed versus what you haven't covered? Absolutely. So there's 2 tools that we use. Pipedrive.com, and I can put this in the chat box. So pipedrive.com is essentially, you can set it up so that you have your different stages in your sales cycle, and you can drag customers to those different stages as they move through it. And in there, you can put in notes. So what I'll do is I can schedule and say, I need to call Jim on Thursday, and then it'll send me an email reminder. And then after I call him, I can put notes about that call, and then I can schedule the next task to do with him. And another one is Salesforce, which is very ubiquitous name in selling. And yeah, absolutely, you want to track all your emails, all your conversations, all your direct mail, those sorts of things. But Pipedrive is a really cool tool that I use. I mean, if you really want to go bare bones, you could do a spreadsheet or something like that. But yeah, that's what I would do. Is I would look at Pipedrive, and I would also look at Salesforce to track those sorts of things. So here's another one. We've been doing customer service first, sales second. Building trust will get you referrals for new business. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you're right on. You're right on target with that, Kathy. So, so quality content examples, and this is again just kind of a list that I came up with. And again, I don't want you guys to be overwhelmed and think, oh my gosh, we got to go out there and make videos and create a podcast and write all this stuff. Absolutely not. But just think about, start with one thing. Okay, what's one thing you can do that would add value to your customers? Perhaps it's a quick how-to guide or resource list or a handout. It's interesting to me. I talked to an interior designer, and they go to their prospect's house and they meet with them, and then they leave them with all of their vendor material. So they leave them with the cabinet manufacturer's brochure and the countertop manufacturer's brochure and the painting brochure, but they don't have any of their own stuff. And I told them, if you leave them with a white paper or resource list or a guide or a USB with a bunch of videos or anything that's going to add value and show that you're an expert, that would be a huge difference. Okay, so just because you have your other people's materials, I don't think that's good enough. I think you want your own. I think you want your branding on it, and it's going to be very powerful. So again, with this, don't be overwhelmed. Just start with one thing, and get it in the hands of your customers. One of the traps you can fall into with this, and I've fallen into this trap, is you think, I need more stuff, right? If I only had more videos, more blog posts, more social media posts, then I'll get the prospects. But that's often not the case. It's more that you need an audience, right? You don't need more articles. You need more people reading those articles. You need more people watching those videos. So if you're going to do some content creation, you're going to build that quality content, know that you've got to also promote it and not just create it. Creation is only one side of it. So make sure you don't fall in that trap where you just keep creating all this stuff, thinking I just need more stuff, when in reality you need more people to see that stuff. So that's just something to keep in mind. So number 5, okay, and we're almost done here, and then I'll get to a couple answers that I see, or a couple questions I see coming in. So photocentric social media. So more and more consumers are engaging with brands and each other via video and photo. And this shows you the monthly minutes per active user on photo and video based apps. And you can see it's just ticking up and up and up. And this was over, a year and a half ago. So I imagine this number is much higher now. Again, where is that puck going to be? So we look at the growth of some of these photocentric social media sites. Instagram. If you're not familiar with Instagram, Instagram is essentially, well, Facebook owns it. Essentially, it's a Facebook page that's just photos. Okay. And the growth of this has been absolutely phenomenal. You can see in just 3 years, they went from 0 to almost 140 million. I believe they just about set the record for the fastest growing website in history. And you can see the same thing with Pinterest, just blowing up. And there's good reason for this, as we'll get to in just a second. Here's another one, Snapchat. You can see, again, just incredible growth. And if you're not familiar with Snapchat, it's an app on smartphones where you take a picture, you send it to a friend, and it deletes itself in 10 seconds. And people have just absolutely loved it. I got roped into it. I use it myself. But again, it just, again, is another photo and video sharing app and social media medium that's just completely blowing up. And so then this last one is you can look at video. So this is the amount of internet traffic, and you can see video is just going right up the ladder, and everything else is, somewhat kind of staying flat or staying the same. So what does this all mean? All these numbers are great. So what, right? So what? There's a lot of people signing up for these sites. What does it mean for my business and my bottom line? Well, this is the part that I really think is interesting, is that when they studied the average order value when a user follows through to purchase from Twitter, Facebook, or Pinterest, they found that people coming from Pinterest, which is a photo sharing website, bought 2 to 3 times more than Facebook or Twitter. So, what does that tell us? That tells us that people are much more pre sold when they come from a photo sharing website. They have a lot more trust. They're moved farther along that sales cycle or down that sales funnel. Okay. And to me, that's really where the rubber meets the road, in that these photo centric and these video centric sites do a much, much better job at building trust, at pre selling. And when you look at a lot of the statistics, people are very, very likely to purchase if they see a video or they look at your photos versus if they just see like a text post on Twitter or Facebook. And in my experience, this is probably the single biggest area that people in the home improvement space fail at, is having good quality pictures of their work and then marketing those pictures. And a lot of people tell me, well, it's a hassle. It costs a lot of money. They make all these excuses, but I'm telling you guys, if you can find a photographer that you really like, and I've even had customers where they buy their own camera and they take a class, and you can consistently get good quality photos of whether it's your community, whether it's the different homes that you carry, whether it's your showroom, whatever it might be. If you can have good quality photos and you put those in your marketing and you put those online, it's going to go a huge distance in terms of building trust, people wanting to buy from you, purchase from you. They get to basically try your product by seeing it before they actually do. So if there's one thing besides a responsive website, I would say is get some good photos out there of your products. I'm just shocked. I did an app recently for a home tour, and there's an $80,000 kitchen remodel, and they sent the photos over, and they were grainy and crooked and dark, and I just could not believe how much they were underselling the product or their service that they provided by having these lousy photos. So don't undersell yourself by having poor photos, because it's how people are going to judge what you provide. So create a system to get more and better pictures, okay? And just take it step by step. Second, create videos that demonstrate, educate, and entertain. I know video is very intimidating. It can be very resource intensive, that sort of thing. But you can create videos on a smartphone very, very easily. I mean, uh, you could have someone who's comfortable on camera just do a walking tour of a community or walking tour of different models of homes, that sort of thing. And you put those up on your website, you put those up on YouTube. And again, people are getting to try, and know and like you right away, very, very quickly. And again, get them out on social media and all your marketing. So those are the top five. Again, if you've got questions, put them in the chat box. I'll get to those in a second. So let's recap here. So mobile is going to continue to grow. Make sure you create a responsive website at some point during the year. And again, I can't tell you guys, I can't stress enough how important it is. And if you saw the presentation at the conference in November, you know how much I talked about having a good quality website is kind of your home base, your go-to thing, because all of your other marketing tends to funnel through your website at some point. And I can give you case study after case study after case study of how people get so frustrated when they're on their phones because they can't see what they're looking for. For instance, last night I'm trying to look up the class schedule for our gym, and they have a responsive website. The problem is it was built improperly. So the new iPhone, which is narrower, right? The website was too wide for my iPhone. So it cut the class schedule in half and I couldn't make it any smaller. So I had to call the gym and ask them. And again, you don't want an experience like that. It's very, very frustrating, and people are going to go onto your competitor quickly. So again, make sure you have great website, get it a responsive website sometime during the year. Increased relevance, customization, and marketing. Think about, and you don't have to necessarily jump on those three things we talked about, but think about if there's ways where you can make your marketing more relevant and more customized. Where are your customers already corralled? Okay, who already has their attention? Is it another, is it a magazine that they all read? Is it, a community or neighborhood association they're all part of? Whatever it might be, is it a hobby they're all in? Find those areas where they're already at, who already has their attention, and put your marketing into those areas, and then look towards the things we talked about today. Marketing memes becoming even more integrated. So make sure your branding is consistent, your colors are consistent. Just this morning, this is really funny. Um, there's a company, their brand colors are gray and blue, okay? And they were passing out ice scrapers that were green and yellow, okay? That's a perfect example of how your marketing memes are not integrated, okay? So make sure that there's consistency there. Start creating quality content and making it relevant. And finally, get some videos and photos, and get those out in your marketing. So for all of you guys, I put together just a little special offer here. I created a marketing analysis. So if you email or give me a phone call, I'll send you, and it's related to the R4. So reputation, reach, resell, and referral. You send me an email, give me a call. I'll send you this marketing questionnaire, and what it'll do is it'll ask you about 50 questions, and it'll automatically um, weight those questions with points, and you'll get a total at the end. And it'll really help you identify if you're weak in certain areas of your marketing. And a lot of people who take this analysis are like, wow, I didn't even know, we didn't do this, or I didn't even think about doing this. And so there's no catch or anything like that for, just nice little added value for all of you being on the webinar today. So email me or call me, and I'll get that analysis out to you. And just as a quick example, I have a friend who recently did the analysis for a business he's thinking about buying, and he scored a 38 out of 100 for that business. So it really kind of woke him up, and he thought they were doing okay with their marketing, and really kind of woke him up there. So um, again, feel free to reach out to me. I'll send that analysis out to you. And if you have any other further questions about anything and they don't get answered today, again, you can email me, call me. And so got a couple more questions here that I'll go through. So this one from Cheryl: what do we do if our current website designer owns our name of our site and we want to change designers but don't know how to go about it while still keeping the name of our site? So that's that's a common problem that a lot of business owners have. Is web designers or marketing companies try and corner you by owning some kind of piece. You have the right. You should have the right, or the ownership rights to your domain. Okay, and when you say they own the name of your site, um, what I would say is I would contact them and just ask them, can we get it transferred into our name, into our company name? And don't tell them you want to switch designers. Don't tell them you want to go to another company or anything like that. Just tell them that we want to make sure that we have complete ownership of the domain, and just for, liability reasons, or just, for comfort factor, whatever it might be. And once that's official, once you have that ownership, then it's very, very easy to change designers. And what I would suggest is send me an email or call me, and I can give you some advice. I can look it up. One of the things you can do, and I'll show you right now, if is you can go to, let's see here, if you go to whois.net and you put in your domain, it's going to tell you who owns it. So let's just do my website, for example. So you can use this to verify if you actually own it or not. Okay, so go to whois.net, put in your domain, and down here, okay, it's going to have who the actual owner is. Now, I have this protected so people can't spam me by looking up my site, but going here, you should see your name. If you see the name of your web designer, then you know that they own it. But what you're really looking for is the register, and if it's in your name. So again, just send me an email, give me a call, and I can help you out with that further. But this would be the first thing: is go on whois.net, make sure that it actually is or isn't in your name. Ask them, hey, can you put? And it's very easy for them. They can just log in, put the domain in your name, and then once you have that in your name and that's official, it's easy to transfer out of them being your designer. So if you have any more questions, feel free to type them in. I know we're just about at 11 o'clock here, so we will have a replay of this. Everything looked like it was recorded, so we'll get you a recording. We'll get you the slides. Again, if you want to have this marketing analysis done, just send me an email or call. And
I think that's probably about it. And I really thank all of you who have been on this call. This was one of a first of a kind, and hopefully we'll have more in the future. And thanks to Kyle for providing us such great information. We covered a lot today, so I'm sure we'll have more questions and comments. And if people want to let us know what they thought of this, it was pretty fast paced, and so we'll certainly try to have some more information in our newsletters and possibly some follow-up webinars. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and Happy New Year to all.
thank you.